She used to be an actress.
Oh, really? Did she do anything out of scene?
And I think her biggest deal was she starred in a pilot.
Pilot? What's a pilot?
Well, you know the shows on TV?
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, but you are aware that there's an invention called television, and on this invention they show shows, right?
Yeah.
Well, the way they pick TV shows is they make one show. That show's called a pilot. Then they show that one show to the people who pick shows, and on the strength of that one show, they decide if they want to make more shows. Some get chosen and become television programs. Some don't, become nothing. She starred in one of the ones that became nothing.
Kick it.
Yes. Welcome to Couch Pilots, all of my friends. It's the show that dares to fly into the unknown territory of awful television pilots of the past. My name is Jason, and with me, as always, is my co-pilot, Professor Philip Restisher. Good evening.
I like that. I'd be called a professor. I got that pun. I got that joke.
That means you're a learned man.
Well, I don't know about learned, but you know.
What's the furthest education you received?
I was in college, junior college, for about a year and a half.
Which one, ICC?
Yes.
Did you have a focused field of study at that time?
Graphic design.
That's a good one. I get that. That totally makes sense for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna be an artiste.
So what happened?
Got a girl pregnant.
And as soon as that happened, you took the pee from her urethra, you put it on the little stick, it turned into a plus, and as soon as it did, you didn't even wash your hands. You picked up the nearest rotary phone, called ICC, and said, "Cancel everything. I'm having a child."
I found out in between semesters, but yeah, it was kind of like that.
Oh wow! So you just thought, what, I need to double down on getting a job here or take care of this kid?
Yeah, it was like I don't have time to do this. I gotta get a real job that pays for kids and wives and such, I guess. So yeah.
What was that first real job?
She in the middle of being pregnant, I guess when I got hired on at Zeller.
And that's also where you got stung in the face by a bee.
That's true.
That's what I take away from your time at Zeller is that you were driving to work and a bee got like between your glasses or something.
Yeah,
or
right on the inside of my eye.
Oh my God!
A lot of other stuff happened.
That mirrors. You remember when your grandma had that? When the doctor froze Virginia, your grandmother's eyeball, and then hacked at it with a thing.
Oh yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. That was your version of it. An insect stinging you in the eye.
Have you ever been stung by a bee, like real bad? Oh, you had that mystery. There was a mystery animal that stung you.
Yeah, I was stung 3 times in like less than in about 15 days, I'd say.
Wow.
It was those ground yellow jackets, but that's all right because I beat the hell out of them. I killed their whole family
with gasoline.
Yeah, I dumped gasoline into the earth.
And now we have the coronavirus, so thanks a lot.
Well, I mean, between that and whatever weird eye juice bee sting that you came up with, we're probably both equally responsible for the current predicament of the world.
What are you doing to pass the time on furlough here?
I would love to tell you that I'm boozing. I've heard booze sales have gone up like literally gone up 33%, which is craziness. I would love to tell you that I'm doing that. I'm really not drinking. I'd love to tell you that I'm, manually manipulating myself more than usually, but that simply is not the case either. I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been watching the clock. As soon as it hits 4 p.m., I'm working out of my house. At 4 o'clock rolls around, I run outside, and I've just been beating the hell out of my garage, my yard, and I've been helping my dumb girlfriend with her new house, too. So I've been trying to keep busy by being ultra productive.
I was going to say, you're doing the opposite of me. You're like being productive.
Well, what are you doing? I've seen you got a new deck at your house.
Well, I didn't put it together. I paid somebody to do that.
But someone needed to stand around with their arms folded and a glassy-eyed gaze.
No, actually, I was at work most of the time because I did it during the day, and so I would just check on them without them knowing on my Ring, my new Ring doorbell with the video.
Your fancy pants over there. Hey, okay, I want to get back to that in a second. But so if you're not doing anything productive, what are you just doing? You boozing?
Yeah.
So you're part of that 33%.
Yeah. I would say I'm like productive 2 days out of the 7.
And what are you focusing on when you're being productive?
Well, we started yard stuff, and I've been building benches.
Oh, I saw that bench. You had a bunch of. You do have you have a real nice wooded rack storage system in the side of your garage, and in there's a lot of like just spare lumber. So you decided to put some of it to use. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Miley is tired of it all being there, so I got to figure out what to do with it. And I don't want to throw it away because I figured once I throw away that one piece of 2x4 that's only like 3 inches long, I'll need it to hold something up.
I swear to God, I was in my garage yesterday. I was organizing some stuff. I had a nice plywood shelf that was kind of bending in the middle. And I was like, you know what I need to do? I need to put a bar across there, give it some support. I look up to my rafters, and what do I got up there? A spare piece of 2x4 that works perfectly there. You're absolutely right. You're going to need it the moment you get rid of it.
Exactly. That's why I keep all my empty boxes and, just like weird stuff. I was productive the other day. I took a day off from work.
Do you think that's a good thing to do during this time?
I do a pretty good job of not taking a lot of time off. I don't abuse my time.
So you wanted to be productive on that day, or what was the purpose of taking that day off?
Well, that was the day that I went to the bowling alley to see if I could salvage. What is it? Engulp any memorabilia from the bowling alley.
Yeah, Roxy's is closing down. And you know what? I've lived through probably about 3 to 5 iconic, in my eyes, growing up in the 80s and 90s here in Central Illinois, closures of local bowling alleys. Yeah. It is a sad thing.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely. It's very. The problem is I think bowling is becoming popular again with the younger crowd. But the problem is bowling alleys are very expensive to maintain, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Is there one, maybe like a chain of bowling alleys, or even one locally that you look to and say, this one consistently does a good job. They're clean, they're modern, they bring the people in, and they definitely, it's evident they're pouring money back into the business?
I think you'd have to say Landmark, but that's because they have other means of getting money.
You think Landmark does a good job of keeping modern?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Their scoring system, their equipment, yeah.
Yeah, they got that the bar. You've been in that bar before. We've been in that bar together, actually.
Yeah.
It's that OTB. It used to be and is again. Is it again now?
There's like a little section that's an OTB, and then you can like watch them outside in the other bar. That bar is still that bar, but there's like a nugget room that is actual the OTB.
It's weird because it used to all be the OTB, and people love gambling, so people would go there. But since the OTB went away before it came back here, it's just it's a massive bar, don't you think? It's huge. It's got all these little pockets. It's got tons of space in there.
Yeah. There's still like banquet space too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're here. We're still alive. Mad shouts out to everybody out there quarantined. You have nothing better to do than listen to the show, so thank you.
Yeah, our downloads better go way, way up.
And they're not.
And they're not. That's the problem. We got to figure out what to do. And I tell you who I'm not going to call is that Tim Wasson from that successful challenge. But every time I talk to him, he makes some of his own show, but he doesn't give us any helpful hints. So I'm not going to reach out to that guy. But
he's like, I don't know how he do it. You just do it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I got 2 words for him: Johnny Bananas.
All right, you ready to board this plane?
Yeah, let's do that. It's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captains have turned on the fasten seatbelt sign.
So do you like that you don't have to hear it?
Yeah, I'm pretty fucking sick of it.
All right.
If there's a way that I could do the show with you but not have to hear you too, that would be great.
Hey, we can make it happen. Hey, by the way, speaking of boozing, guess what I'm drinking?
I would imagine some booze. Oh, let me guess. I will say it's either Hamm's or Miller Lite.
Incorrect. I'm drinking a margarita.
Wow. What's that all about? That's not usually your MO.
We had to go to Costco this weekend to get toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked by the booze section, and I said, "Hey, Molly, when was the last time we had margaritas?"
So this is like just that pre-made mix that you pour over ice, or is it like a frozen thing, or what?
You pour over ice. There's no way that she would let me mix it myself.
So it's just this. It's a pre-made alcoholic margarita mix. You just dump over some cubes.
Yeah. It's like 12%.
I've had. I know. I've had some good times with those. Yeah, that's good stuff. I like just the original flavor personally.
Yeah, that's what I'm having right now. I'm a strawberry guy. You know me. I'm a strawberry guy all the way.
I always said that about you, strawberry guy.
But we're doing original. So $8 for a big old jug of it.
That'll fuck you up.
And it has.
And how? For people who haven't listened to the program before, and I don't know how to gauge that anymore. Are there new listeners? Are people just kind of drudging along saying, God damn it, I started this, I got to finish it? I think we probably just have people who have OCD at this point.
Right. It's just the 40 people with OCD.
40, well, that's a very high number. What I would say is that we are a podcast, almost 230 episodes strong, of a program that looks at television pilots that never made it. It shows that
you don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
And we talk about it. We kind of break it down. And I want to say this too, because I felt like we ran into this recently. I even felt bad. We talked about a pilot, and I got some in-depth information from one of the guys on the show. Collectively, and I will take myself out of it because I did not super shit on it, but it got crapped on, and I felt bad because I know that guy listened. And I want to say that is never the intent. You and I, when we watch these shows, we're not doing it to be malicious or vicious towards these shows. We try to really take everything into account and then pump out what our thoughts and ideas are.
No, I definitely think that we want to enjoy them. I think there's very rarely have we had pilots that like before it even started we're like, oh, this is gonna suck, but we want to enjoy them.
Yeah, we want to give everything a fair shake, and I think we've given some really excellent scores out in the past, and that speaks to that. But I just want people to know that we're not the kind of guys who just love to shit on things, and that makes us feel good. This is not a Schadenfreude cast. This is a program where we break down pieces of media, most likely forgotten by time, and we dig them up, we polish them off, we give them a little spit shine, and we say, hey, what is this thing here? Do I like it? Do I not like it? What's it all about?
We're doing the Lord's work.
We're trying. So today we discussed the pilot episode of the Jane Powell Show, and that's from the year of our Lord 1900 add 61. And from what I know, that was a great year.
That was a really good year. 1961, you had Elvis was still alive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
I think the what's those two? The Smothers Brothers were alive and kicking, and they were tearing it up.
Now, do you know one of the Smothers Brothers has a son? Maybe they both do, but one of them has a son that's in that does something very specific for a living. Do you know about this?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, they're called the Smothers Brothers, and I can't remember. One of them, his name is Richard, and that's short for Dick, and he's got a son named Dick Jr., and Dick Smothers Jr. is a porn star.
I was going to guess that, but then I thought I didn't want to. Wow, damn it.
Isn't that crazy that have you ever met a guy that you're like, you don't have to change your name if you want to get in the porn? This is fantastic.
Engelbert Humperdinck, but that's the only other person.
Oh, that's a good one. When we used to do the old show at Burns with IBWIP, you had created this segment called the Spaghetti Western. Do you remember your sheriff's name?
Sheriff. No, I don't.
It was Sheriff Dick Justice.
Oh yeah, Dick Justice.
And that was based off of a guy who lives across the street from me. He died probably about 7-8 years ago. His wife still lives there. She's got to be late 80s, early 90s. But there was a gentleman actually named Dick Justice that lived by me, and R.I.P. Dick Justice. But there's a name that you're like, oh yeah, he could be a spaghetti western. He sure as hell could be a porn star.
Yeah, he could either be a sheriff or a porn star, or a sheriff and a porn star.
But that's it. Those are the only professions he could do.
Well, he could be a nickel stacker.
I don't think you're allowed to say that in 2020.
Nickel stacker?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. That's not what I heard. What does that mean?
It's a guy at the bank that stacks nickels on his penis.
At the bank?
Well, where else are you going to do it?
Now that's how you get coronavirus right there. Oh my
Currency
God.
virus.
Currency 19.
Yeah.
Old Dick Justice is balancing those 5-cent pieces on the end of his cock meat. I got real sick.
Nice.
Oh, that's dirty. We're dirty. Yeah, I think there's something else I wanted to add in there, but it can't be better than that. So we'll just move along.
How old were you?
Oh, I was -20. That's for
Oh
sure.
man, I was only -14.
Yeah, that's math for you, folks. If you do nothing else in this podcast, you can take away the subtraction of 6 from a number. 1961. Things happen that year. Things happen every year. I don't really know what it was like back then because I wasn't around, but I sure as hell have to be in the mind frame of back then if I'm going to watch a show from back then.
Yeah, we can't judge this pilot from 1961 based off of today. I mean, they didn't have CGI back then, obviously. They didn't have Band-Aids.
Right.
And they didn't have Shakira back then either. So you try to judge a pilot from then, knowing that they didn't have Shakira.
You try to judge a pilot by not understanding those things, you're going to look like a damn fool.
Damn fool.
I tell you that right now.
You know what they didn't have? You know what they didn't have back in 1961?
What's that?
Coronavirus.
No, that's for damn sure. So to properly understand that time frame, we have to go back to 1961. In our minds over the phone. And to do that, we'll talk about things that did happen that year, including April 11th. Bob Dylan makes his first appearance at Folk City in Greenwich Village, or Greenwich.
Was that like a festival?
I don't know what Folk City is. I imagine it's probably a couple blocks within the Greenwich Village area of New York, where a lot of just like hippies and beatniks and folk singers culminated to smoke weed in their opium pipes and sing their shitty poems to each other.
Good answer.
That's what I would guess. Are you a Bob Dylan guy?
No, I've never liked Bob Dylan. I've never thought his music was good at all. I know there's a lot of people that like just worship him and say that he's like, but I never got into him.
I never really got into Bob Dylan either. I mean, he's got a few catchy tunes, but he's like this is one of the things I think about Bob Dylan. I believe him to be one of the last, if not the last, musical guest on Late Night with David Letterman when Letterman was going off the air.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the last Starfighter.
Oh, yeah, I'd have to look into that. I can't speak to that intelligently. But I will say that on Letterman, though, like, Bob Dylan never looks like he wants to be anywhere.
Sure.
But it's weird because no one's forcing him to constantly tour, which he does all the time.
Is it because he loves the music, or is it because he's one of those guys that like pissed away all his money early on?
The guys who piss away their money, I feel like we hear about those guys. Like a Nicolas Cage. He's like, oh, I own a castle and 1,000 Lamborghinis, and now I have to make 1,000 movies a year to break even.
Right, like Willie Nelson. The government took all his money.
So, yeah, but I've never heard that about Bob Dylan, so I assume that he loves it, but you sure as hell wouldn't know that from the way he acts on stage. And when he was on Letterman, Dave was like, thank you, I really appreciate you being here, and Bob Dylan looked like he fucking fell asleep. I don't know. I've never really been a fan. April 12th, the United States World War II General Douglas MacArthur declines an offer to become the baseball commissioner.
I didn't know that fact. That's weird. I didn't know that.
See, I don't care about baseball. I know you like baseball, though, right?
I used to like baseball back in the Disney.
Are you polishing something?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, does it sound like I am?
It sounds like you might be polishing something.
No, I'm actually trying to fix something while we talk.
Like your marriage?
No, that would take more than just 45 minutes of time.
Well, I can wait on the phone for that if you want.
No, I got it. I fixed it.
No, you got it? Okay.
I got it. Actually, to be honest with you, I think I said this last time. Me and Molly are getting along better.
You did say that,
yeah, and it's nice.
Are you? And why is that? Just because I guess you were going out quite a bit. You'd bowl a few days a week, so it's being forced to stay home and do nothing social that has brought you closer to your wife.
No, I think what it is I think we both have this underlining like, hey, we can't just like go and get away from each other. We can't just have an argument and like have a couple days or a work day to get over it. Maybe So I think that's what it is.
Gotcha. That makes sense. You got to deal with it right there.
Or maybe she just is scared of dying and doesn't want her final days, to be ridden with arguments and stupidity.
I think it's that. I've always seen the fear of death in Molly's eyes. Yeah, it's weird to me to think, hey, I'm commanding an army to end a war, and then I will become a baseball commissioner. That's a weird transition. I'm sure there are other things I don't know about there, but you being more of a baseball guy than I didn't know if you had ever heard of that.
No, I think that they look for a leader, and maybe after World War II, they're just like, this guy was awesome. He's got nothing to do now. He's retired from the military. Hey, want to be a commissioner of baseball?
Why the hell not? I guess it's the same thing as like...
there's uniforms. There's rules.
Yep.
There's a score, just like in war.
Bats are like guns.
Balls are like bombs.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly it.
You have a battalion. You have your own. But every manager of a baseball team has his battalion.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also Cracker Jacks.
Yep, and relief pitchers. I mean,
and sometimes those guys don't care if they ever get back.
I didn't mean to step on yours.
No, it's fine.
But
I'd never call you out for stepping on my bit.
But then I had a bit over the top of it, but then it didn't land. The relief pitchers.
Bits on bits. Yeah, relief pitchers. We need those for sure.
Well, because they have gay people in the military.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I get you. It's a don't ask, don't tell policy. April 17th, 1,400 Cuban exiles land in Bay of Pigs in a doomed attempt to overthrow Fidel Castro.
And it took us a long time before we could get cigars from those guys.
Yeah, amen to that. Now we can finally get those Cuban cigars that were so coveted. You know what's funny about this is, like, here's a genuine effort. Like, people hate Trump, but I've never seen anyone try to organize to, like, overthrow the president. That's fairly unheard of. You might have a few rogue guys, that the FBI or the Secret Service takes down, but to organize 1,400 people in an attempt to overthrow someone, this is in the early 1960s, and then to have that person that you want to overthrow go on to rule that country for another 50 years.
You're like, oh, my grandpa made such a horrible decision.
Fidel Castro died just like 5 or 6 years ago. And like a year or two before that, he gave up his power. So he seriously was in power for like another 50 years beyond this coup.
Cuckoo, cachoo is what I say.
And God bless you. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm in 1961.
Me too.
Why do we choose to watch the Jane Powell show?
3 simple criteria. It was a pilot that was made for television that only had 1 episode, and whether it aired or not is irrelevant. Number 2, we had to find out on the interwebs, and you're very good at finding them.
Oh, well, thank you.
And number 3, it had to be free, baby.
Ooh, free babies. I love that. You're probably asking yourself, where can I watch the Jane Powell show for myself? Well, you can do so by subscribing to Couch Pilots and SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app of choice, and then simply click on one of our classically blue links in our show notes. Or go to YouTube, and you know what to do, Tube.
Is this where we take off?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Do
it. Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
Do you think maybe you could give me some kind of like secret clue of when to push the button?
For the takeoff?
Or for each segment?
Like, what do you want me to say?
I don't know, just something the listeners won't realize that you're giving me a cue.
Like I could do a fart noise, or I could, oh boy, I don't know.
Can you just say Mr. Bojangles? The listeners won't know anything.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Summary of the pilot. Casey McKay, an actress-singer, impulsively marries Jeffrey Edwards, a math professor, and then struggles to fit into his campus life at a small California town.
B+. I like that.
That is good. That's a good one. I like it.
It's not over wordy. It's not. It gives you just enough detail.
Mr. Bojangles, interesting facts.
Oh shit. Which one is that one?
It's the one that says I don't know.
King of the Ring.
Yeah, that's the one we started using for the Tuckley 10 that we just kept using.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Interesting Facts. This is the part of the show where Jason has scoured the internet to find facts about this pilot that you may not know. Please don't taint other one's experience. Don't give your thoughts or opinions on these facts. Just accept them as facts and lay your head down at night knowing that you know some facts.
You don't know what hard times are. My daddy. You're my daddy.
Hold on.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
Good. Got it.
Oh, thank God. Release date, April 25th, 2012.
Wait, can I raise my hand?
Yeah, I call on Blake.
Oh, thank you. Can you clarify that fact?
Sure. This was a pilot for a proposed 1961 series that was not picked up. It was shelved until it got a DVD release in 2012.
Thank you.
You know, I think they probably said that Mayan calendar is looking pretty goddamn accurate. If the world is going to end by the end of 2012, we better get a DVD release of the Jane Powell show.
People need to know about this.
Right. Make it your last viewing experience. Stars, of course, the still alive at 91 years young Jane Powell as Casey McKay Edwards. You may know her from bit parts on Growing Pains, Fantasy Island, and The Love Boat, or from her classic films from the 1940s and 1950s, such as A Date with Judy, A Royal Wedding, and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Fact.
Those are facts. Those are excellent films.
Still alive at 1991.
I can't wait for Twitter responses because I'm sure she tweeted you back.
Oh, here's the thing about Jane Powell. She loves tweeting. Speaking of old people, you ever hear of those books like Ramona and Beezus?
No, never heard of it.
No, come on, those kids books, Ramona, and the author's name is Beverly Cleary.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Okay, so she's the author of these books about Ramona and Beezus. It's like this girl and her younger sister, and just about them growing up. I am on the Reddit application on my phone, and what does it say? But Beverly Cleary just celebrated her 104th birthday. She's still alive.
Way to go, Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, same thing. Also stars Russell Johnson as Jeffrey Edwards. You may know him from
Gilligan's Island.
I wanted you to say that so bad. Attack of the Crab Monsters and This Island Earth. Fact. Also stars Elliot Reed as Leslie. You may know him from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, The Absent-Minded Professor, and Seinfeld. End of interesting facts.
Way to go. That's awesome.
That's always the thing that I fall back on. You know, if I can't find any information about it, I just kind of dissect the
actors.
I look at the actors and their resumes and see what they've been in, because there's not a lot of information about this program out there, unfortunately. But fortunately, we do have a section of the show called Twitter Responses.
Twitter. Oh, let me do it in the Jane Powell way.
Oh my God! Stand back from the mic a little bit if you're gonna do that.
All right, here we go. Twitter responses. I like Twitter responses.
Despite her still being alive at 91, everyone involved with this is dead. And of course, there's no Twitter responses. I think there's a certain age where you just don't Twitter respond anymore, and she is well past that age. So with that said, let's go ahead and break down the pilot of the Jane Powell show. And we'll go ahead and start that off with you if you like, Blake.
10 minutes on the clock. Here we go. This is a 4-star television production. All right. And that must have been one of the companies, the production companies. And the first scene, they're at a nightclub, and there's a lady singing, "I'm in love." And the crowd is going apeshit.
They love it. They love it.
She goes backstage after the rousing applause to come back out. She comes out. She bows to the crowd, bows to the band, and goes back. And her agent's like, no, you got to go out again. And she goes out again and just walks out the door. Doesn't go all the way back on the stage, and just kind of again. So she had three standing ovations.
Yeah, she keeps going in the back at her manager Leslie that I had mentioned, that Elliot fella. He keeps saying like, hey, You got to get out there. They want more applause. They want to see it. They're loving it. And hey, we got some stuff booked up down the line here. Are we sure we got to cancel this? We got a bunch of money we could be making. And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. She goes out, comes back in, and he keeps sending her out, but at the same time saying, why are you leaving this life? You're really hitting a stride here. You're throwing it all away.
Right, and she keeps talking about him. She always references him. And who him is Jeffrey, who she's only known for a week, but is in love with, quitting her singing career, and is going to go marry this Jeffrey guy, who is the professor from Fantasy Island. I mean, from Gilligan's Island.
Well, did he ever have a name? Did the professor on Gilligan's Island, did he have a name, or did they always just call him the professor?
I think it was just the professor.
So if someone ever, no one in the series run of that show ever said to him and said, hey, professor, surely you have a first name and last name. What are those?
No, they were just focused on him making radios out of coconuts. Okay,
well, that makes sense. And you know what else? Gilligan, arguably the most worthless person on the island. Why is the island named after him?
Well, because wasn't it him that messed everything up?
Oh, so the guy who so anytime a new area is discovered, they name it after the person who screwed up and got there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that makes sense to me. Yeah, she's known her fiance. I think it was for a week, but at one point they made it sound like it was 2 days.
No, I wrote down only knew for a week, so I think it was almost I think
okay.
I think the courtship happened very, very quickly. The agent doesn't want her to go. She says, I'm quitting. Next thing we know, we see a wedding scene, and that's when we see the Jane Powell Show title screen. There's
laugh tracks and something that we've seen before in shows, but here it says, place commercial one here.
Oh,
yep.
Place commercial one here.
Yeah, so we find out the guy she's married, his name is Jeff, and they pull up to his home, and she wants to be carried over the threshold. She likes that tradition. He's not super interested in it, but he does it to appease her.
Right. He's like, come on, you're an independent '90s woman. You know, do you need to do this? And you could tell. At first, I was like, he's not. It's not that he doesn't want her to be an independent woman. He doesn't think he can get her up over there.
That's right. Yeah, he's a very thin. He's a almost skeletal man. He probably doesn't have the strength to do it.
Right.
I'm sure they edited out some strings and levers to carry her over the threshold. But once they're in there, they meet Ollie, and he is the professor's roommate. And he now that he's married, Ollie is moving out. And while he's kind of packing up his stuff, Jeff gives Casey a tour. And I like how it's K.C. like initials, but they just call her Casey.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And so, while she's giving a tour, she says, here's the bedroom. And it's the classic early 60s sitcom bedroom where it's two very tiny twin beds.
Yeah, it's a very Dick Van Dyke Show or Mary Tyler Moore. But I've actually suggested this for me and Molly is to have separate beds because that way the dog can't sleep on either one of our beds.
Now, is that enough to have separate beds, or would you want a separate room to sleep in?
You know what? My grandparents had separate rooms when I was growing up. My mom and my stepdad have had separate rooms for years and years and years since the kids moved out. You know what? I don't think it's that bad of a deal.
Well, here's my thing. I don't usually like sleeping in the same bed as someone else.
You like singles sleeping in a double bed.
No, I've got a queen now. I've had a queen for over a year now, Blake. All right? But this is what I do. There's a lot of farting in bed for me.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And these are these will shake your fillings out, too. These are rough customers that we're dealing with. So, that's embarrassing. And then I snore. And then, if I am touched, if someone rolls over and touches me during sleepy time, then I wake up. So I feel, and I heard a statistic recently that 25% of married couples do sleep in different rooms, and there may be something to that as far as having a healthy and positive relationship.
I wonder of that 25%, what's the good marriages of that 25%? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Could you look that up for me later?
Yeah, I'll scour and check it out. I'll get you some answers.
So Jeff describes their meeting to Oli, which I like him. And he's in really good spirits considering he was told 3 days ago to move out.
Yeah, he is in pretty good spirits.
Yeah, he was like, hey, that's cool. And so Jeff kind of goes through and describes how they met in the car, and he's talking to a bee. A bee comes in the house. It's because Casey's she's in the bathroom. He drew her a bath. She's in the bath. Yeah. She's bathing, and a bee comes in, and always like, man, she's been a bitch. This bee has been a bitch since you've been gone. He's like, hey, honey, I'm home now. You're cool.
And the bee is a queen bee, and apparently they have a beehive outside, and the bee's name is Agnes. And so they get the bee outside, and that kind of just sets up for later events. But once she's done with the bath and Ollie's gone, you can see that these two are very much in the literal and metaphorical honeymoon phase of their relationship. They're very lovey-dovey.
Yeah, she comes out in like what at that time would be considered lingerie, very flowing, very thin flowing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get me some," and so he hurries Oli out of the house because he wants to have sex, and then they're on the couch making out, and he's about ready to get some punani, right?
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, well, it'd be nice to do this right now, but we have to be at the dean's house in a half hour for dinner.
Yeah, everyone wants to meet you. I need to introduce to everyone. They get there, it's a pretty swanky party, and they're all like learned folk who work at the university. And then and Casey is being escorted around the party by the dean's wife, and she is very up to speed on everyone who is there and kind of what their field of expertise is and what they're working on. Yeah, and Jeff's very impressed with her.
Yeah, she's trying to make a good impression for all these teacher wives, and she ends up sitting down and at the piano with one of the music teachers or something, and she sings a song. Imagine that. She sings "My Beloved," which is one of the classics in my opinion.
Is this something that we would see shoehorned into every episode?
Yes, there's going to be a scene in every show where she sings and we saw what were the sisters? What was the sisters that we watched one of their pilot, the singing sisters?
The Andrews sisters?
Yeah, every scene they had a song.
Oh my God, so much singing in that one. Yeah, I think if this were to continue, and I know maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but you would have her singing at a party. Eventually, she would be performing again somewhere and maybe singing.
Right,
or maybe she's at home folding laundry and singing.
Yep, or in the backyard doing planting trees or flowers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it would be shoehorned into every episode, that's for sure. But after she sings at the party, people kind of gather around some of the professors there, and they kind of have a discussion about performers, and they're all kind of being dismissive and kind of cavalier with their comments about about how performers are kind of childish or extraneous or selfish people, and Casey is like, well, I just fucking performed here, and you're saying this shit to me, so she's insulted, and even more insulted that her new husband kind of was going along with what everyone was saying.
Yeah, and she did not like that at all. So the next scene, they're at home, and she's in the bedroom, obviously getting ready for bed. He's getting ready for bed too, and when I say he's getting ready for bed, he's getting to have some sex.
Hell yeah.
He gets a nightcap ready and knocks on the door, and she opens the door, and he's like, hey, a nightcap? And she's like, you're an idiot if you think that. And he's like, what's going on? And so she basically finally tells him why she's mad.
So yeah, she's upset for sure, and she's not going to give it up that night. When he kind of gives up, she's or he goes in the other room for something. Maybe they use the bathroom. I don't know what he was doing, but she sees a bee in the house, and apparently she's never been told that there are bees and a beehive outside, because she kills Agnes, the queen bee, and he is very he's very forlorn.
He throws a 7-year-old fit.
He's grief-stricken for sure.
So she goes, obviously this is their first spat. She goes in the bedroom. She gets, even though it's not the same bed, she's going to make him sleep on the couch, which makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Maybe she farts a lot in her sleep. Anyway, plays commercial 2 here.
Yep.
And then the next day, we're back at their house. It's in the morning. Jeff is at work, and Casey is left at home to her own devices. And she gets a phone call from, I don't know if it's her manager or her agent or publicist or whatever it is, but Leslie, the guy from the beginning, calls her, and he says, hey, I don't want to tell you all this, but you're missing a lot of great opportunities. I'm telling everyone you're not available. And he's kind of, what he's doing is planting this information in her head, making her miss that life that she could have had and could still have.
Right. And what's ironic is like she's only been gone like a day and a half.
Yeah.
You know, like there's not even enough time for her to get bored. It's not even enough time for her to miss anything.
Right.
And then Casey's bored, and the dean's wife stops by, and I wrote this down. She brought bread and salt as a gift for good luck. And I know this is a factual information because I've seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life. And my mother, both times I bought houses, she has bought me bread and salt and a bottle of wine.
I have never heard that before.
Yeah, so next time somebody, like when your girlfriend bought that house, you were supposed to take a loaf of bread and some salt and wine.
So she would definitely love the wine. Looking through the window, she comes in and she sees the blankets on the pillow and on the couch and stuff. And so I think she kind of has an idea that something might be up, but she comes in to almost not only deliver that gift to her, but kind of like further acclimate her to what's going on with the area and some of the people. Then we go to a scene where we're at the faculty gym, and everyone's wearing like the same like gray sweatsuit outfit, and they're Jeff knocks out a dude who was kind of analyzing the bad mouthing of performers the night before at the party, and then it dawns on Jeff, and he's like, I know how to fix this now.
Right. So he comes home to apologize. He's got flowers, but he can't find her anywhere. He can't find her anywhere in the house.
Yeah, she seems to be gone.
Yeah, she pulls up, and I guess maybe they have two cars, although it didn't, how would he have gotten back? But anyway,
what is that car she's in? That's amazing.
That's a classic automobile.
Oh, my favorite, the classics. I've always been a fan of the classics.
So she comes home, and she goes straight out to the beehive, and she has a little box with her, and then she comes in, she's like, I got you a new bee. I shouldn't have killed your bee. He makes some champagne again, starts kissing her. He's like, all right, we're not mad at each other anymore. Let's have 3 p.m. in the afternoon sex.
Well, after she puts the bee there, she's kind of like, I killed your bee. I didn't know it was a thing. I'm sorry. I feel like I've kind of fixed that problem, but I just don't fit into your life. I'm not a good fit here. I feel awkward. Something is wrong about this. But as soon as he brings out that booze, like he said, and starts like kissing on her, she's like, "Oh, now I've got a huge lady boner. We're gonna go funk in the other room."
Right.
Like that. Like their physical attractiveness to each other
precedes everything else.
Yeah, it cures all. Anyway, plays commercial 3 here. I thought that would have been a good point to end the show, but they went on the next morning. And Casey wakes up before or while Jeff is getting ready and makes him breakfast, including honey cake.
Yep, and that was from the last batch of honey from Agnes.
Yep, R.I.P. Agnes. The end, Mr. Bojangles.
Mr. Bojangles.
Please remain seated as we are now crossing a zone of turbulence.
Turbulence.
We ask ourselves the same questions over and over again. This has one episode. Why didn't it work? How would we improve it? Where would it go if it continued? Don't you think this show worked?
Well, I thought about it, and at first I was like, well, why didn't it work? Maybe this Jane Powell was not as famous as I thought she. Because I didn't know who she was at all. So I was like, well, maybe she just wasn't famous enough. But that wasn't it. Obviously, she was. And I kind of think maybe it was really kind of sultry at times. This was a very sex oriented show.
It was a little racy for the time. Yeah. There's a lot of hints of sex and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's really, and also, how long are they going to fight? Are they going to have a fight every week?
I guess so. Yeah. I think if you're having a show named after you, you're famous enough. That's what I think. So she's definitely famous enough. One of the films that she starred in, she co-starred in with Fred Astaire. So that says something, I think. But I don't like the name of the show. Jerry Seinfeld had a very popular program called Seinfeld. It was named after him. I don't know else what you would call that, but I feel like there's enough theme here. They could have gone with a different name. I don't have an example of what that might be, but the Jane Powell show doesn't really, like, you're getting her. That's it.
Right. And we've had from the same time period, we've had a lot of shows that we've seen that have been named after the star that really didn't have anything to do with the star.
Yeah, that's true.
What was the one with the girl that she went to some kind of like exercise class?
Was it Let's Join Joni?
Yeah, I think maybe that was it.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, but I mean, that again, it was named after the star of the show, but she wasn't necessarily. I don't know.
If this survived, I think what you're going to have here is her continuing to kind of filter into this life. There's endless amounts of opportunities of characters with the faculty and even the students. I think she's going to get pulled back into her show business life, and there's going to be a weird navigation of her doing that, but staying married to this guy, and maybe he goes on the road for a little bit, or maybe she goes off on her own. And there are plenty of places I think this could go. I think it just comes down to, do we want to take that trip with those people?
Right, and it's also that it's that first year, or for newlyweds. Plus, they don't even know each other that well, so you have that to go off of.
Yeah, a lot of I didn't know this about you. Oh, you're a practicing Satanist. I did. I guess that's kind of cool. I had no idea. I don't know. I guess Mr. Bojangles.
I do like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we start our descent, please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright position.
Ding dong.
Final descent. Now we take a look at what other people have said about this show, what other people have rated this show, because surely we're not discovering, we're not archaeologists. Right. Out in the pilot desert, digging up little canisters of reels and holding them up to the sun to watch it. We're not out there with little chisels and those little brushes to move away the dirt. People know about these shows, okay?
Right.
We're not the first, and we certainly won't be the last.
You don't think we'll be the last people to talk about the Jane Powell show?
We're probably the last. IMDb, online internet movie database, they have a score system set up there, 1 to 10, 10 being the greatest, 10th decimal place, point rather, in place. Blake, what did people from around the world rate the Jane Powell show?
I'm going to have to say like a 6.5.
6.6, and that's from 8 ratings. 8 solid ratings. And need a minimum of 5 to count, so barely over the minimum.
Do you think it's Jane Powell's 8 grandkids?
I do think that. Yes, I do. Critic reviews. This is one of my personal favorites here. It's a fellow goes by the name of Vintage 45. We can almost always count on him if I can't find out anything else. It says a misfire of a sitcom with Jane as actress, singer Casey McKay. She marries a math professor in a small California town. She has to adapt to his life on campus. This was the first attempt at playing a professor by Gilligan's Island professor Russell Johnson. We'll cut to the end here of his review. He says, no, there's really no summary on this. He doesn't seem to care for it, I will tell you that much.
Okay.
So I'm sorry I leaned so heavily on Vintage 45. That was a critic review. Here are a couple of viewer reviews. 8 out of 10 stars, a singing Jane Powell and her 1961 unsold television pilot. I always find it fascinating to watch a TV pilot, whether it becomes a series or not. It is interesting to see Jane Powell, the soprano star of so many MGM musicals, here as a professor's wife. Russell Johnson, here almost as foreshadowing a few years earlier than his playing Professor Roy. Oh, Professor Roy Hinckley was his name, it says here. On Gilligan's Island, plays a math college professor. The premise that they met and married only knowing each other after 1 week is slim, providing the classic fish out of water story with Jane's character having to adjust to a non-show business type of life as a wife in academia. I wonder why the pilot failed to sell. It was up on YouTube, so a Jane Powell or Russell Johnson fan can view it. Do you believe this Jane Powell show is Gilligan's Island canon? Is it the same professor?
I do believe it is, yes.
I would like to believe it is as well.
That makes a lot of sense.
Viewer reviews, 3 out of 10 stars. Could it have worked? Absolutely. Did it? Nope. Not even close. Jane Powell was a huge singing star with MGM in the 1950s. However, when musicals began to lose their appeal, Miss Powell found herself unemployed and looking for work. Unfortunately, one of her attempts as a comeback was this turkey, a very badly written TV pilot that could have worked but didn't.
That was a little harsh.
Yeah. So let's see. I can see exactly why the networks didn't pick up this misguided little show. We'll do one more review here. Let's see. Oh, this is a ridiculous one. Oh, this is awful. Reviewer Futurist Food from May 16th, 2013 gives it 1 out of 5 stars, or 1 out of 4 stars, rather. Subject, ignorant, selfish woman.
Jeez, God.
The root of evil, cares more about her trivial bullshit than nature. I had to turn this unfunny, ignorant crap off, and that singing, my head almost came unscrewed. That was more for me than anything. That was just a ridiculous review. Mr. Bojangles.
That was Jane Powell's first husband.
Yep. You know what? I looked at it. She was married 5 times.
Oh, ouch.
Her most recent husband passed away in 2015. I believe his name was Mr. Bojangles.
Please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright position.
Ding dong.
Now we rate. Boy, we've done a lot for you folks. You lazy bastards. You subscribe to our show. You listen to our stupid voices. We do all the fucking work. And here we are at the end giving you our rating. 1 out of 7 is the scale taken from the television show from the 1990s, affectionately and accurately known as Wings. 1 being the worst score you can get, and that's the recently departed David Schramm played the character of Roy Biggins. And number 7, that's the best score you're going to get, and that's a Brian Hackett. Captain Philip, rest assured, I turn to you. How do you rate the Jane Powell show?
Jane Powell was a hottie. She was a good-looking gal.
She was a good-looking lady,
and I saw her in two sets of PJs on this show.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. We've watched a lot of stuff from the '60s that was really campy and really cheesy. The laugh track wasn't heavy. Like, I didn't notice it till like halfway through the show. So
yeah, I agree.
It wasn't loud and overbearing. I thought it was decent. A little steamy at times, but I'm going to give it a 5. I think people should watch it.
Yeah. This is a weird thing about these shows, because this is a sitcom. It's a funny show. They say what do the funny shows last? About 21 minutes. A lot of these we watch, and they're a little over. They're like 28 to 32 minutes usually. If these old ones, I don't understand how that works in the time slots of working with half-hour intervals on television.
No.
But that's what it was. I think with the commercials in there, it'd probably be damn near an hour. Well, at least 40 minutes anyway. But this show, it is nice to have a program this old and not be too heavy on the laugh track. I totally agree. I was waiting for it in the very beginning. I heard it very little when she was leaving the stage the last time. But it wasn't heavy, so that was nice. Jane Powell, a beautiful woman. You want beautiful people on the screen. Russell Johnson, very attractive man. It seems like they have an awkward base to work off of going forward. The fish out of water story, you can get a lot of mileage out of that. I would say that not wildly entertaining, but it wasn't a bummer either. I want to go with 3. I think I got to give it a 4, though. I'm going to go right down the middle. This is okay. It's fine. This is a show that I think you could watch. If someone showed it on Nick at Night, in the 90s when I was young, I just flipped through and see this. I'd be like, oh, of course this is on. This belongs right here.
Right.
So why not do 3 to 5 seasons, pumping out 30 episodes or 40 episodes a year like they did back then? They could have totally done that. Why they chose not to, who's to say?
Jane Powell.
Jane Powell could say, but she doesn't know how to use Twitter, unfortunately. And with that, you giving it a 5 and I giving it a 4, we close the book on the Jane Powell show, and we will never speak of that again.
Yeah.
But join us next time, won't you please, when we watch the pilot episode of Some Guys. Here's a little something to whet your whistle. 5 20-something friends in the big city navigate the perils and pitfalls of love and sex. You can find the entire episode of Some Guys by subscribing to Couch Pilots and SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app of choice, and then simply click on one of our classically blue links in our show notes, or download the app for Daily Motion and check out Commotion.
Or watch it on your phone.
I have a Roku television.
Yeah, I do too. There's no Daily Motion app.
And there's no Daily Motion app. I don't know what's up with that. And you know what else? I have an Apple TV that I have connected to, and it's almost, I don't use it at all practically anymore, the Apple TV, but it's still hooked up. So I was like, you know what? I'll go to the Apple TV. I'll use the Daily Motion app there. Also gone. Something is up with Daily Motion. They're losing clout.
And we might be losing a lot of pilots from there.
I would hate to think that's the truth, but unfortunately it could be the case. If you want to contact Couch Pilots, go to couchpilotspodcast.com. You can get us there through our Twitter, our Facebook, or our email. Send us a line. Drop us a note. If you want to tell us what you're up to during the quarantine, if there is something, some new skill that you're gaining or some world record you're attempting to break, let us know about it. We'll talk about it right here on the show. If you know about a pilot that failed that we haven't done yet, good luck to you. I hope that you can help us out, but we will move that to the top of the list if you let us know. And also on that website, you can listen to every single one of our episodes absolutely for free, dating back to 2015.
And so Spotify and our website are the only places you can find all the episodes. If you can subscribe to us on iTunes, you're just going to have to dig deep after, the bottom of the list there.
Yep. If you want to keep going back, you got to look at other places. Call us at 910-PILOTS-1. That's 910-745-6871. Just do it to me as a courtesy, as a favor at this point, just so I know that it's still working.
Right. And mostly because now that we're all quarantined, there really isn't anything else to do. So this is the perfect time. We should next episode we should have like 50 voicemails because there's nothing else for people to do.
If you are listening to this, give us a call, and we will do nothing but a voicemail episode. That's all we will do. We'll put out an extra bonus episode with all voicemails. Give us a call. Leave us a message. Gosh darn it, you're going to get frequent flyer points.
Yeah, and you can use those for any number of prizes, mostly ones you're going to need during quarantine. You can turn those points in for masks, hand sanitizer.
Yep.
Little blue booties that you go in to have before you have surgery.
We've got a king's ransom of half-ply toilet paper we're giving out.
Yep. So, I mean, any number of things. Used underwear, autographed aviator glasses, just a plethora of stuff. And all you got to do is download the show, listen to the show, share a post, tell a friend. Any of those things are going to get you frequent flyer points. Tell an enemy. We don't care.
Blake, we were definitely, I think, 3, 4, probably at the time of the release of this episode, 6 weeks into this quarantine. It's funny how quick something becomes the norm. Right. We're living in this new normal. I'm kind of comfortable with it, but I don't want it. I don't like it. I'd rather be out there doing stuff, shaking it loose with you. Can you give me and so many of our 40 listeners a little bit of a positive thing to go out on? Is there some sort of a moment of positivity you can help us with?
Well, let's see what we can do. We're at the end of April. Either today or tomorrow, we're probably going to hear the next step for our country in regards to quarantine. If they lift the quarantine, hey, still go wash your hands. Still stay 6 feet away from people. Don't lick telephone poles, doorknobs. Don't do that. If you're able to get out, don't abuse it. All right, let's just do the stuff we've been doing now.
Amen.
To keep the virus away. If we are quarantined for another 2 weeks or a month, I'm going to be very pissed off, and I won't have anything nice to say because I got something going on in June, and I don't want it fucked up.
Oh boy, I don't want to be around if that happens. We might have to do a bunch of episodes in advance just to.
In case I get hospitalized.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for that. And I will say that this pilot may have been rough, but it's always a smooth flight here on Couch Pilots. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Love you.
On behalf of Couch Pilots and the entire crew, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we are looking forward to seeing you on board again in the near future. Have a nice day.